we will know.
Yeah, start the feed and the recording.
Yes. Okay. So and start the recording. Okay. And now. Okay. Obviously, it had to go like that. So let's see. So I'm glad I started 2 minutes before because I don't think so. It started. The feed started. You guys can still hear me out, right? Am I going in and out?
No, this is
You can. You could speak a little bit louder to make up for
Okay.
the fluctuations.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Okay.
still it is better than the previous one.
Yes,
Actually.
yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Okay. Okay. So I don't see. Okay. I think we are live now on Facebook here. So let me share the feed link and see if this works.
Good luck, everyone.
I am putting in
Thank
the
you.
chat.
Good luck to you too.
I am putting it in the chat window. Okay. So see if this works. You have it in the chat window. Can you check it, guys?
Yeah, it's there.
Also share the same link on your WhatsApp groups also.
Okay, we should, it's 9:59 or 11:59.
Right. Okay,
We're up to
so
30.
are we ready to go here or?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah. Alrighty, let's see here. Alrighty, well, good morning everyone to this. It's August 3rd, 2020. Good morning everyone to this press conference titled Indian Diaspora Calling to Halt Display of Hindutva Saffron Supremacy at Times Square. We welcome you on behalf of the Indian Americans diaspora, represented by a collective voice of all faiths, beliefs, and ideologies. We thank Coalition of Fascism Against India, CAFI, Indian American Muslims Council, IAMC, India Civil Watch, ICW, Global Indian Progressive Alliance, GIPA, Hindus for Human Rights, and many other sister organizations who have voiced against the heightened insensitive display of the Indian diaspora of the Hindutva supremacy display at the Times Square. For the uninitiated, we refer you to our joint statement sent to the NYC Mayor de Blasio, giving a detailed background and the context. As we open these conversations, I do want to set up some protocols for this call so we take a safe space. All participants must keep their videos and audios off to allow for safe space on this call. Keep your questions and answers brief when you're asked to respond. Also, a request to the panelists on the call, if you are not speaking, please keep your audios muted. Now that we have set up some ground rules, I would like to invite our first statement from Mr. Minhas Khan here, representing Indian American Muslim Council.
Right. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for arranging this. Not a good day for us, obviously, of what's happening and what's around us. So I'm Minhaj Khan from Indian American Muslim Council. We join hands with our coalition partners in protest of this unholy display of religious bigotry and fascism by the Hindu nationalists in America. It has long been evident that the religious bigotry and the hate spouted by the Hindutva ideology, which is behind mass violence and human rights abuses in India, has taken the firm roots in the American soil. Hindu nationalists, also known as, to better put it this way, Hindutva supremacists, are now set to make a naked display of their crimes in India, in the heart of the New York City. They are planning on doing so by celebrating in the Times Square the criminal destruction of the historic Babri Masjid in India, and the death and the destruction that ensued all over India. To explain it in simple words, I can easily narrate these Hindutva forces in India as the equivalent of the Ku Klux Klan in the United States. Hindutva supremacists in the US have hired advertising space on the billboard in Times Square to project images of Hindu deity Lord Ram and the 3D pictures of the upcoming Ram temple that will be built on the ruins of the Babri Masjid. Planned for August 5th, 2020, this celebration of bigotry and hate is not only an affront to our values as Americans, but emboldens the Hindu nationalists to advance their supremacist ideas in the United States. It also legitimizes their efforts to use their position on American soil to promote a violent and supremacist agenda in India. Advocating for their own religious freedom in the United States, these bigots are doing everything possible to turn India into a majoritarian state that relegates the Muslims, the Christians, and other religious minorities to the status of a second-class citizens. We are here to protest against this celebration of religious bigotry and the advancement of the supremacist ideas in the United States. People of conscience need to protest because this is not a celebration of faith, but a celebration of virulent hate and bigotry. I want to reiterate that the planned advertisement in the Times Square that celebrates the Ram Temple construction in Ayodhya are effectively a celebration of the destructions of the Babri Mosque on whose ruins the temple is going to be built. Remember, freedom of speech cannot be allowed as an excuse to celebrate bigotry and advance hate in the United States, and not certainly in the beautiful and the most diverse place on earth like the New York City. I want to remind that the ideology that was the genesis of the campaign to destroy the Babri Mosque and construct a Ram temple in its place has claimed thousands of lives in India and continues to be the driving force behind the attack on minorities and their places of worship. The billboards are therefore an affront to our cherished values of religious freedom and respect for human rights. And they will showcase the success of this violent campaign and that has been responsible for untold human sufferings. The current Hindu nationalist Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, came to power riding on the hatred and Islamophobia that was perpetrated for decades to demolish the mosque. The salutation Jai Shri Ram, which in English translates to victory to Lord Ram, has been weaponized by the Hindu nationalists. And the Muslims and Christians have been lynched while being forced to chant Jai Shri Ram. Unless the international community voices its opposition to the Hindutva, millions of people in India will suffer persecution and repression with their life at risk and livelihood severely constrained. And I really appreciate this effort here by our coalition partners to bring this all together. And hopefully we will get a message out to those who does not understand the true meaning of pluralism and democracy. Back to you, Manish. Thank you very much.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you very much. Those were very well-spoken words. Avinas, I just want to make sure my audio is clear because I know I keep going in and out with my technical limitations here.
It's better. We do get some, but it's better.
To everyone?
Here you are.
Okay.
There's a little bit of noise, but it's better.
Okay, next I am going to speak on behalf of the Global Indian Progressive Alliance. This is Dr. Manish Madan. We call upon to halt the Times Square commemoration of the Ram Janmabhoomi Shilanyas, also known as the groundbreaking ceremony. We, the people of India, representing the Indian American diaspora, belonging to all faiths, speak today in one voice against a public spectacle of displaying Jai Shri Ram, including Lord Ram's portrait and videos, which we consider as a private to the religion, to our belief systems here. It is an initiative led by the American Indian Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC, to coincide with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's schedule of laying the foundation stone for construction of the Ram Temple in Ayodhya on August 5th, 2020. At the outset, we categorically state our respect and appreciation of all faiths, religions, and/or religious sentiments that includes its display at the place of worship. However, as it stands, this initiative is not only devoid of the recognition of the deeply troubling historical context, but it also usurps the religious and moral sentiments of many Indian Americans spread globally, including reinforcing saffron supremacy on the US soil, which is fundamentally against America's secular character that we all promise to uphold in this country. Most importantly, it also alienates the Muslim community whose members were killed in disproportionate numbers in one of the worst communal violences seen in India, also known as Babri Masjid riots at Ayodhya in 1992. Our statement is not to challenge the Supreme Court of India's verdict on the land allotment, but as members of the community trying to build a morally just society, we, the global Indian diaspora, feel compelled to speak out against the tone-deaf nature of planned commemoration at Times Square. While it is also our position to respect India's republic and her parliamentary system of conducting its internal business, however, it will be a remiss if we do not express our deep pain and anguish for the manner in which Hindutva-led extreme far-right saffron supremacist government actions left many members in the state voiceless, stripped of their human dignity, and compromised the democratic values of our great beloved country that lives through all of us here. We offer this progressive narrative shared by a large cross-section of the global Indian diaspora and therefore ask the members of the AIPAC and the officials of the City of New York to recognize that the planned celebration on a publicly, privately owned space is contrary to not only all of our shared values, but also inadvertently celebrates violence, hatred, polarization amidst the loss of innocent lives after decades of communal divide. And in fact, legitimization of Hindutva agenda, which is a form of religious supremacy, which is neither representative of the world's oldest religion, Hinduism, nor does it represent the sentiments of many Indian Americans who indeed practice the religion. In these times marked by the global suffering caused by COVID-19 pandemic, we insist that the AIPAC members withdraw their planned celebrations and also strongly urge the City of New York to disallow the use of their space for the said purpose in good faith. We ask the organizers to instead spend the massive funds being used to display the said advertisement, advocating instead for the development of our country, for the millions of people living under the poverty line who cannot afford 3 square meals, who cannot achieve decent education, who cannot secure good health care. We invite them for a conversation to develop an inclusive, harmonious, united, developed, and above all, a progressive India. In conclusion, the AIPAC initiative, if continued, without the recognition of the larger Indian diaspora's reservations outlined as with our groups and others in the sequence, it will be a punch in the gut for many Indian Americans and our inclusive, secular, and progressive values that we all stand for. We call upon the organizers to immediately halt this commemoration. And as I conclude our statement here, I would also like to state on the record that we stand together as the voice of Indian diaspora. The group planting the display neither speak for nor represent the Indian Americans, and we finally oppose the blatant display of Hindutva supremacy on the American soil. Thank you very much. At this point, I would like to invite our next speaker on the schedule I have here. That will be Sunita Vishwanathan, co-founder for Hindus for Human Rights and also a member of CAFI. Over to you, Ms. Vishwanathan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody who is with us today, especially members of the press. I'm Sunita, one of the co-founders of Hindus for Human Rights, a US-based organization of Hindus devoted to the human rights of all. We are also members of Coalition Against Fascism in India, CAFI. As a Hindu of conscience, the display that is planned by this group, APAC, in Times Square on August 5th, a streaming of the Bhumi Puja or groundbreaking ceremony for the planned Ram temple in Ayodhya, both infuriates and horrifies me and devastates me. The images of the Hindu mobs tearing down a 500-year-old mosque in a bloodthirsty frenzy back in 1992, until there was absolutely nothing left of it, are my first visual memory of the horror of Hindutva or Hindu nationalism. Many Americans would wonder, why is there so much uproar over a faith community that's just celebrating their faith? Well, I am of the same faith as the people projecting these images on August 5th, and I can tell you, this is absolutely not a celebration of faith. It has nothing to do with faith. This is not my Hinduism. My Hinduism teaches love and compassion and the oneness of all, not hatred, bigotry, and Islamophobia. The government of Narendra Modi claims to be secular, but is destroying our democracy, the Indian democracy, and is fast taking India towards becoming a Hindu theocracy, what is called a Hindu Rashtra. Some would say this case of the Babri Masjid is proof that we are already there, in fact. The Supreme Court last year announced a verdict on this case. They said that the demolition by the Hindu mobs of the mosque was illegal and that all those who participated should be brought to justice. Not that anybody has. But in the same breath, in the same verdict, the Supreme Court also gave permission for the Ram temple to be built on the same site, and they call this justice. August 5th is not a holy day for Hindus. No, the choice of August 5th rubs chili powder into the deep wounds of the people of Kashmir and all of us who seek justice and peace. It was August 5th 1 year ago that the same Indian government put Kashmir under lockdown overnight, massively increased military presence, shut down the internet and phone for everyone. It is still not fully restored, imprisoned all the elected officials of Kashmir, and took away the limited autonomy of Kashmir. This past year has been nothing short of hell for the people of Kashmir, who have had to deal with all of this in the midst of a crippling pandemic. As we stated in a letter to Mayor Bill de Blasio, these projections in Times Square are not a celebration of the faith, of our faith. It is in fact the triumphant dance of Hindu nationalists on the graves of India's lynched Muslims. Many of these events are taking place in India, worlds away, but these displays are taking place in the heart of New York City. It is imperative that our mayor and all our elected officials are aware, have their eyes wide open. Hindu supremacists are here in our inclusive city with bags of money to spend on spreading their vicious and Islamophobic ideology disguised as faith. I spoke a few days ago to a Hindu priest in Ayodhya, a devout man whose small and humble temple to none other than the same Lord Rama is adjacent to the site of the demolished mosque and the planned magnificent temple to Lord Rama. This priest told me that he will not be lighting lamps in his temple on August 5th. This is his act of personal protest, and I add my protest to his. I want Indians, especially Indian minorities, Indian Muslims and Dalits, and Indians who want their democracy back, to know that the Hindu nationalists do not represent all of us. To Hindu nationalists, to the Indian government, to this group AIPAC that is behind the billboards, and to the evil people who commit murder and spread hate in the name of Lord Rama, I say, not in my name. Thank you. Manish?
Thank you very much, Ms. Vishwanathan. Sunita, that was a very compassionate statement there. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Raja Swami, representing ICWI and CAFE. Over to you, Raja. Raja, we can't. I think, Raja, you're muted.
Yes. Oh, okay.
You're good. You're good. Good to go. Please go ahead.
The Ram Temple circus organized by the Hindutva movement in the US is a condemnable attempt to cover up two historic crimes by this movement. Hindutva, the Hindu supremacist, ultra-nationalist, fascistic regime that is now in power in India. The first crime was committed on December 6th, 1992, when tens of thousands of Hindutva militia organized from across the country descended upon the more than 400-year-old Babri Masjid and destroyed it. India's Supreme Court in November 2019 labeled this act an egregious violation of the rule of law. The Babri Masjid's demolition, openly celebrated as a victory against Muslims, was a crime against the Indian Constitution and the very idea of India as a secular nation. It was followed by a series of organized pogroms in which thousands of Muslims were massacred by mobs of men, often with police protection or support. It is on the ruins of the Babri Masjid that the RSS and its most prominent member, Mr. Modi, seek to build what they call a Ram temple, which they view as a symbolic milestone on the path towards Hindu Rashtra, the Hindu supremacist nation they seek to erect on the ruins of India's constitution and secular democracy. Anybody participating in the justification of this crime is no less than an accomplice. The celebrants gathering on August 5th are not doing so as an act of religious faith, but defiantly declaring that the era of Hindu supremacy is here. They are gathering to celebrate the murder of thousands, the destruction of India's complex and composite history, and showing their collective support for the ongoing project to build the supremacist Hindu nation. Organized attacks and pogroms against Muslims in India, with the most egregious of them being the Gujarat Carnage of 2002, when Mr. Modi was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, in which more than 2,000 Muslim men, women, and children were killed, thousands raped and brutalized, and an entire community was terrorized, humiliated, dispossessed, and pauperized. Even as the current Modi government responds to the pleas of suffering workers and farmers with bullets and police repression, his delirious supporters in America pretend to celebrate culture while supporting the destruction of an entire society. August 5th also happens to be the first anniversary of the unilateral abrogation by the Modi regime of Article 370 and the imposition of a harsh new regime of Indian military control, repression, and outright brutality on the people of Kashmir. Thereafter, the Modi regime signaled to the world that it was committed to terrorizing the entire Muslim civilian population of Kashmir into submission, escalating the ongoing assault on the lives and dignity of the Kashmiri people who are living under a suffocating siege for more than a year now. We unequivocally condemn the organizers of this garish celebration of murder and mayhem and stand for the defense of a secular India and its constitutional guarantees and rights. Let the American people take note that those who are organizing such a show in multicultural New York, a city with millions of people of every racial, religious, and ethnic background, hide cynically behind the garb of culture and faith while promoting a supremacist terrorist movement that seeks the destruction of the very idea of pluralism and mutual respect. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Raja. Again, yet another compassionate statement there. At this point, we will be transitioning to the Q&A section here. We understand there are members of the press on this call. So if you could identify yourself.
I'm sorry, can I make a few announcements first?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yeah, just a second. I'll just take 1 minute.
Sure.
People in the chat are asking what is the action plan, and of course we have an action plan.
Yes.
We will be our organizations that are involved in this press conference and the letter to Mayor de Blasio will be protesting in Times Square at 6:30 p.m. on August 5th. Other organizations are also organizing, our other allies, and I know that there's also a protest happening at 8 a.m. on August 5th. We will be doing a campaign to phone call the mayor and other elected officials in New York City. We will be also doing a phone campaign to call the ad companies that own those billboards. And finally, some of us in our organizations are looking into purchasing available billboards, but so far we're finding that the cost is exorbitant, but we are still working on that. And so if anybody who is listening, either here on Zoom or on Facebook Live, and want to help and get involved, you can get in touch with any of our organizations. Finally, today at 1 p.m., so right after this presser, over 100 Washington state and national organizations have issued a public statement exposing and condemning the hate, racism, and Islamophobia by a new organization called Alliance of Persecuted People Worldwide, APPWW, and its leaders. This is another Hindutva supremacist organization, and the hashtag to find out about that is hashtag condemn APPWW. So those are my announcements, and I invite anybody listening to get involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunita. That was good. We were actually going to do the, all right, let's do, if there are people from the press on this presser here, if you would identify yourself, the ideal way would be to put your name in the chat window so we can see who's there, and then we will call upon you.
And Raja from ICW will ask the questions.
That is correct. Right. Are there any? Okay, we have Mr. Vineet Khare from BBC. Let's see if I can see.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. I'm just trying to turn your video on here. So if somebody can do that, that would be great.
Maybe I can do it myself if that's okay.
Uh, okay.
Can you
All
see
right,
me?
you're live.
Okay, I just wanted to find out whether have you heard back from the mayor, the letter that was written to Mayor de Blasio. Have you heard back anything?
Mr. Kare, we had a letter back from the mayor's office. We sent the letter on Friday, and we got a letter back over the weekend from the mayor's office saying that they will, there's a lot in the letter to digest, and they will send it among all of the people in the office and get back to us.
Have they given a time frame as to when would they get back? Because
No.
whatever is happening on 5th. It's not
Yes,
very
they
short.
haven't given a timeline.
Yeah.
But we are going to start our phone campaign.
Okay.
And Manish, I wanted to say, can we just have Raja read the questions?
Yes.
Just for the safety of
I
everybody.
just responded on that. Yes.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, Sunita, I don't think there are any questions posted yet.
That's why.
Okay, I see.
That's why I wasn't sure, actually. Yeah.
I see.
All right.
I have a question for Sunita.
Yes.
If Sunita Vijayalakshmi here from the India Observer. Sunita, I just wanted to know how hopeful are you all of stopping this event at all, if at all?
Vijay Lakshmi, thanks for your question. It really isn't about it isn't really about stopping these billboard projections on August 5th. Of course, we want that, and we are demanding that. And we believe that New York City, especially the New Yorkers among us, we believe that we have a city that is inclusive and does not condone hate. And we have made a very strong case that what is happening is actually hate. And we hope that the mayor and New York City other elected officials hear us, take us seriously, and even if they can't stop this, make a statement about this. But really, it isn't about stopping this. It's about making sure that our voices are heard, and that anybody who feels triggered, traumatized, re-traumatized by what is happening in Times Square on August 5th should know that they are not alone. And I think the vast majority of the Indian diaspora is with you. It's just a very scary time to speak up. And in India, people are literally being put away in jail and killed, beaten up, lynched, and killed for opening their mouth. And so in this country, we are able to open our mouth, so far at least, without any such consequences. And those of us who believe in justice are doing so. And to India's minorities, you're not alone, we're with you.
Okay, Sunita, just one more follow-up question. Do the elected officials and the mayor have the powers to stop this? I mean, can they do it, or?
If they agree that this is an expression of hate speech, they have the power to consider this a criminal act and just stop it.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
And to add to that, this is Minajia from Indian American Muslims. I'm just reading some WhatsApp messages, personal ones, that I do see that there has been some conversation going on within the NASDAQ marketing team as well. Thinking about it, I hear. So I hope and expect, hopefully there will be something coming out. So there is a possibility that they might not do it. It depends, actually. Can't confirm, but I do see some conversation with the management of the NASDAQ team going on. So
Right.
That's it for it.
Right. And if I can quickly add to our previous speakers here, we're really hoping for some compassion here from the AIPAC to recognize that what they're doing is a blatant violation of many people's moral and religious sentiments. So we're really hoping to build that bridge where they see us as a one community and not do this affront. That's our position also. And we hope that they are listening to us.
Yes. True. There's a question I believe somebody is asking about how do we learn more about the action on Wednesday at 6:30. There'll be a flyer that will be out, Sunita and team, hopefully, and you should probably be receiving it in one of the WhatsApp messages of the group. So we'll try to put it out ASAP with some details about the event.
There are a couple of questions that are asking whether we have, and by way of suggestion, about possibly reaching out to Black Lives Matter and learning from the amazing work that Black Lives Matter is doing in the United States today. Any of the panelists?
In reaching out to organizations to sign on to the letter and stand with us, we definitely included our contacts in Black Lives Matter. So they're aware of this. I think we all know that the movement has plenty on its plate right now, and we express solidarity with their movement and don't really, ask them to stand up for other causes right now when this is a moment that they are under so much pressure, and it's a moment where they are really consolidating. But I want to say that we also have been in touch with another allied organization, Jewish Voices for Peace, and I'm pretty sure that later today, the New York chapter of Jewish Voice for Peace will be joining us in our fight as part of our solidarity movement.
Other questions from the press or anybody else? I must share with everybody who's on this call that there are a few people who have been sending messages on the chat list that are not exactly questions. They are basically making comments. So I urge you all to please consider that this is a press conference around a very specific issue. So if you have particular grievances about what was said today in any of the statements, I urge you to kind of take that to a conversation beyond this particular press conference. So please do address any other questions you have that are specific to the content of this press conference and the issue that it has been organized around.
And especially if there are press members on this call, do ask your questions. That's why we are here.
Sunita, as the press people are coming in on board, can I just say a question here from one of our users? So at least we keep the conversation going.
Yes.
All right, the question is, and any of the panelists can take this question, will this display inflame bigots on the other side as well? Will this, I think the user is trying to ask, will they create any inflammation between the different communities, this particular event?
Maybe I'll take that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Sunita. No, go ahead if you want.
I just wanted to say that just a few days ago, I spoke, as I said in my statement, I spoke to a Hindu priest, a progressive Hindu priest in Ayodhya, and he said that not so much the Times Square billboards, he didn't really know about that, but the ceremonies on August 5th on the Babri Masjid site is definitely inflaming communal tensions in Ayodhya.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the question that was asked, but Minaj Bhai, why don't you?
Well, yeah, well, I think the point that Manish was asking, will there be people who will be taking it in a negative sense on the other side of the fence? To be honest I lived all our life, my life in India. We still have all our extended families. So I'm gonna put it this way, like, that this has always been there and it will continue to be always there. It is people like us who has this mindset of changing what is not right are the one that will eventually rule. So I don't think it will ever stop. And especially if you have a political vehicle that is running this show, the India of modern times, then they will eventually realize, but it won't stop. And hopefully we will not stop either, actually, with friends like you all. I'm confident that the change will come, actually. People will eventually realize.
Okay, Sunita, sorry for interrupting again. Sunita, can you also tell us the name of the priest whom you are in conversation with?
Yes, his name is Yugal Kishore Sastry, and I recently, myself and another colleague, Vijay from Hindus for Human Rights, we interviewed him, and you can see our interview right up on our website, hindusforhumanrights.org.
Okay, can you, it's Yugal or Jugal? How do you spell the first name?
You could say it both ways, but it's Yugal, Kishore Sastry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. He's a very brave man.
I missed that interview. I'll look.
There are several questions that are asking specifically about what kinds of actions might follow after this. I mean, in response to this, including what people can do to support any of these actions. Could any of the panelists speak to that?
Yeah. Vanessa, you want to go ahead? Or
As I said before, if you get in touch with any of us, and you can find us on social media or on our organizational websites. I can put my email in this chat so you can reach me. Just get in touch and we'll get you involved. The most obvious things are the calling campaigns to the the billboard owners, the elected officials, and then showing up if you're in New York City on August 5th. And there may be other things we could do as well.
Right.
So I'll put my email in the chat, but if you can get in touch with any of us.
yeah, definitely. And to add to what Sunita said, please, the reaching out to the elected official is nobody's, nobody can stop you from doing that. Feel free to give them a call, try to bring them, because the entire idea about this campaign is to educate people about what is right and what is wrong. So you don't have to let any one of us tell you for that. Go ahead and do it yourself. You are most welcome to call the elected officials. And in fact, for that matter, call NASDAQ and tell them, like, look, this is not right. Perhaps we can give them a benefit of doubt because they were not aware of what happened and what this is all about. So maybe it's time for us to go out and educate them. So please take your time, make a call, educate those who are not aware of what is happening. So that will be another good thing we can do for that in this matter.
And if I could add, just like the priest in Ayodhya and me, if you are a Hindu and you do actually love the gods of Hinduism, please say that their Lord Ram is not your Lord Ram. Let's take back our country, our democracy, and for Hindus, our faith.
There's one question here, and I would like to kind of read this out, not because I think it's a great question. The question here basically does the usual thing. I mean, the person sending this question obviously has some issues with what we are saying here, and the question he has repeatedly posed here, Mr. Ankush Bhandari, is: Will you also mention of minority persecution in other parts of the world in your protest? And I want to speak to this very briefly, Mr. Ankush. I mean, this is, if you are not willing to acknowledge that there is a really horrific genocidal project at work that is systematically demolishing the very foundations of pluralism, of mutual respect, treating human beings with dignity, etc. And this movement that many Hindus have been drawn to, the Hindutva movement, is inimical to the very basics of democracy. If in response to that you are calling for kind of a whole range of other sets of questions about what about there, what about here, etc., that shows a tremendous amount of bad faith. And I say this not to particularly single out Mr. Ankush Bhandari, but many others like him who will keep repeating these kinds of counter questions, these what about questions, in order to divert from the core issue at hand. What type of society do we want to live in India, in the US, in the world? Do we want a society that is built on the brutalization and murder of an entire group of people because is supposed to be the ideal society? No, we say no to that. We refuse. We have many different perspectives on this panel. We are not all in agreement about everything, but one thing we all are in agreement about is that we do not want the kind of society that Hindutva and its votaries want. We refuse a supremacist, fascistic world where human beings are lynched and murdered, turned into second-class citizens, subjected to endless military occupation, brutalized, maligned. And this is happening all across the board. It doesn't take rocket science to figure out where it is happening and how it is happening. So I urge those who are posing these kinds of counter questions in order to divert from the issue to please think, what kind of world do we really want?
Thank you, Raja. I'm assuming you're taking the next questions also.
Um, Alia Khan asks, Sunita, will there be a Hindu chaplain of will the Hindu chaplain of Columbia University be there at the participation, or any other faculty or students in Columbia as well?
I think the question is, the person Alia has heard that I was selected to be the Hindu chaplain. It's actually called Religious Life Advisor at Columbia University, and that starts for me in September. And I'm deeply honored to serve in that role. When you are a religious life advisor or a chaplain for students in a university, your own personal politics doesn't come into it. And I hope to be a mentor and a guide for students in their lives during their college career. And my politics won't come into that. And I will be equally there for Hindu students of the entire range, the spectrum of opinions on all these issues. I speak here as myself in my own capacity as an individual, and I speak for Hindus for Human Rights. I hope that answers the question.
Okay.
Are there
Raja,
other questions?
Yes, I'm looking here. Shujat Khan shares this celebration is similar to, for example, the neo-Nazi party celebrating Hitler's birthday and what happened at the hallowed grounds of Auschwitz. How can this be morally allowed by any decent human being? No doubt the comparisons are not entirely inappropriate. This is a celebration of destruction of not only the Babri Masjid, but also the well-being, the lives and dignity of millions of Muslims in India since 1992 and continuing on through the Citizenship Amendment Act, as well as various other kinds of assaults. It is a celebration of supremacist violence. And like many of us mentioned in our statements today, this is not a celebration of faith, or it is not an act of kind of celebrating culture by a minority in the United States. It is an outright celebration of the worst kinds of tendencies out there in the world today: supremacist bigotry, hatred. Yes, I think there are several comments and suggestions here, but I'll skip over those to see if there are any questions that are in particular addressing that are particularly addressing any of the core issues that we raised today in the press conference.
Right. Raja, can I take this one question here?
Please go ahead.
So it's a question from Abdul Kadir saying, are you all ready for any confrontation if the organizers will try to be violent? As we all know, these guys are very rowdy. Just my concern. I would invoke Mahatma Gandhi here, who we all love to follow. We don't seek any confrontation. We do not seek any violence. We do not seek any hatred. We do not seek any divisiveness. This call is to bring the communities together. We are asking the AIPAC to come to us, talk to us, and hear what we are saying. Sympathize with the loss of lives that happened in the run-up to the Babri Masjid. How in the right mind, in a morally just society, we can celebrate the loss of lives caused by the bloodshed and the communal violence and the division in our country. And that's where we say, no, we do not seek any confrontation. We are hoping to sit down together and see where can we invest the money that they're wanted to spend on this billboard, which has no real significance rather than just putting out a supremacist agenda out there on the streets of New York Times Square. We're asking that let's spend the money for the poor. Let's spend the money for the hungry. Let's spend the money who can't go to the doctors. We have so many issues in India. We all can work together. So I hope that answers your question and what our position is as against the confrontations. Thank you.
Yes. So Sunita, do you want to proceed, because it looks like there are not that many other real questions. They're mostly comments here.
So then
Right.
we can wrap up. If there are no other questions, we can wrap up with each speaker just giving a closing thought.
Mhm. Okay, Minaz Bhai.
Okay. Well, I just want to, at the end, conclude by saying that I'm glad we have people on the other side of the aisle who cares. And Indian American Muslim Council is proud to have such a broader coalition where I have so many Hindu friends that I can easily say that this will be defeated one day. And I'm very hopeful about it. The rule of Gandhi will come back. I'm very hopeful. These are passing times. These are times that we just all have to show our unity, be our the best we can, and always maintain our pluralistic value that we have learned from our elders. Actually, ये जाति मकान है, किराएदार है, जाति मकान थोड़ी है. I repeat it, Rahat Hindu Sahab share and end with that. कि ये किराएदार है, जाति मकान थोड़ी है. They'll go away, and let's be all hopeful about it, and things will change. But let us not give up on the struggle. I know there will be difficulty, there will be hurdles, be it, and nothing comes free actually. And are we prepared? Somebody asked, and I know people will say they will confront. Yes, we are prepared to confront, but we don't have to always fight. We can confront with good and wisdom and a knowledgeable code. We can educate them actually, and then change the tide around us actually. So be hopeful, everything will fall back actually. It's just a passing time, and hopefully when they go back, we will have the India that we all dreamed about back again. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Back to you.
I can go next.
Sunita.
Yeah, I can go next. I just want to end by saying we absolutely, Hindus for Human Rights and everybody in CAFI and all of our organizations stand opposed to this planned blatant display of hatred in Times Square on August 5th. And I once again invite anybody that wants to get involved in the work we are doing to protest hate, join with us. We need to increase our ranks. And to the New York City leaders, Mayor de Blasio, council members, you have the power to, at the very least, make a statement. And at the most ideal level, to somehow try and put a stop to this on the basis of it being hate speech. New York City, it does not represent New York City's values. And finally, to Hindus, to people from my Hindu community, if for you, Jai Shri Ram is an expression of love of God, and if it's not Ram for you, if it's another God, you know, put your God in, and Jai Shri Durga, whichever God you worship, Jai Shri Ram should be an expression of love and faith. If you are against the weaponizing of these names of our gods, where it becomes a murder cry, Jai Shri Ram has become a murder cry. People have been lynched while being forced to chant these names, Muslims and Dalits. If this is not okay with you, please join us. We really need to build a Hindu movement against Hindu hatred, Hindu fascism, Hindu supremacy. Join with us, hindusforhumanrights.org. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Raja.
Thank you all for being here and attending this this important conversation. On behalf of ICWI, I would like to reiterate that we stand opposed to bigotry, to intolerance, to hatred, and to this sort of broad programmatic effort to transform India into a Hindu supremacist state. We are absolutely opposed to it. We also want to call attention to the fact that, yes, while we fight against bigotry and Hindutva supremacy, we also want to keep in mind that the fundamental social justice issues that lie at the heart of Indian society have yet to be addressed, and must also be the social justice struggles that are all over the country must be supported and must be defended as well. And I think Hindutva's assault on the pluralistic fabric of India also works alongside a combined assault to grab land and resources and to crush working people, to destroy the means by which people can make livelihoods, etc., in order to fatten the pockets of the billionaires and multinational corporations. So I think we should address this issue without doubt, defending India as a pluralistic society. But we must keep in mind also that the struggle is also for social justice, and we must support the social justice struggles and the fighters for social justice in India across the board. I call particular attention to the intense repression that is taking place across India by this regime, especially targeting the folks now being referred to as the Bhima Koregaon 11. Various such acts of repression are continuing throughout the country. So I think we should take a stand against Hindutva as a project to destroy the secular fabric of India, but also as a project that is stabbing the very heart of India's ability, or the people of India's ability to make lives and to live in peace and dignity. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you very much, Raja. Here. So my last comments here would be, we want to thank on behalf of our all coalition partners, CAFI, ICW, IAMC, Hindus for Human Rights, JIPA that we represent here, and also several sister organizations that have played a huge part in supporting the letter that was sent out to the Mayor de Blasio, and we are hoping for them to take cognizance of our concerns. As part of our action items, we are again calling upon the organizers to be respectful of different positions that we have presented here, and be mindful of the historical events that led to this demolition and the bloodshed that it caused. It is morally unjust to celebrate and I would say that dancing on the graves of people here, as my colleague Sunita said in her statement. It's a powerful statement, and we need to understand that we cannot allow that to happen. And so we hope and we ask for compassion from the AIPAC to recognize these sentiments of Indian Americans. The next, we also want to tell everyone on this panel and whoever is listening, there is a sizable Indian American diaspora community in this country, outside India, in Europe, UK, Germany, US, and the groups that we have so far with massive deep pockets, they do not speak for us. They do not represent the secular, inclusive, and the democratic and pluralistic values, progressive values that we all stand for today. So when you get those noise, when you get those amplifications right in India or anywhere in the world, you need to understand that those voices do not represent us. Those voices do not represent many of us. And it's important for us to understand this alternate, progressive, secular, inclusive narrative that does exist, that sees and envisions India as a moving forward state, as a state that can give the basic amenities to each individual, the last man and the woman on the face of the country here. So on that note, we do want to thank here everyone to participate. We understand it's a Monday morning noon. It's a busy morning for everybody, so we cannot thank you and appreciate enough for you all to having joined us. Again, for you to follow us, hindusforhumanrights.org. We are on twitter.com/GIP Alliance or facebook.com/GIP Alliance. Raja, if you want to tell your website and IAMC, please go ahead.
Yeah, ours is indiacivilwatch.org, indiacivilwatch.org. Please visit our website and do contact us if you have any questions.
Minaz bhai?
Yeah, you can call us. You can go to our website at imc.com. Under the events page, we will list the events that will be happening on that day. Hopefully, I know a lot of people have been asking, where do we meet? What is the modality of the protest? So just to quickly reiterate, we will meet at around 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday nearby the NASDAQ board. I don't know which one are they using, but I think if people are familiar with the area, they should be able to very easily figure it out. Plus, there will be people standing up with the board. I'll be there myself. There'll be a poster out there. So you might be able to figure that out very easily. So try to be there, bring your family, bring your friend, and don't forget to maintain social distancing. That is very important. Besides everything that is happening, we also need to make prayers for those people who have lost their lives through this pandemic. And definitely exercise a lot of caution. Bring your sanitizers, your face mask, and be there actually. And bring your own posters if you feel like there is something, a message that you would like to give. That is important.
All right. And on that note, one final comment. All the statements that the panelists spoke, will be uploaded on our social media channels. So if anyone wants to refer to those statements and use some bytes to make more amplification of the noises, of the voices, you do have our permission to use those statements. I'm speaking on behalf of JIPA. I'm assuming that everyone else has also agreed on that.
And
Yes.
just to add to that, we will email to everybody who is registered for this press conference. We will email the statements to all of you after this presser.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I guess.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank
On
you.
that
I might
note,
just add one thing.
Yes.
I might just add one thing.
Go ahead, please.
I think some folks wondered what, can we stop this event? Can we stop the images from being projected, etc.? Maybe, maybe not. But if we don't stop those images from being projected, if we don't stop the Hindutva nationalists, the supremacists from having their gala on the 5th, that's not the end. We will wake up on the 6th and continue fighting this menace to humanity. That we can assure anybody who is concerned about this. We will continue, and our voices will grow, and they will grow stronger, and they will not go away anywhere. So Hindutva supporters in the US, sorry to say, you're not the only folks with loud voices. Our voices will grow louder, and soon you will
Indeed.
have to answer for these.
Right. And let's
Jai
close
Shri
with
Ram.
this
Jai
Martin
Shri Ram.
Luther.
Jai Shri Ram. Jai Shri
In
Ram.
the end, we will close with what Martin
Jai
Luther
Shri
King
Ram.
said, right? In the end,
Jai
we
Shri
will
Ram.
remember not the word of our enemies, but
Jai
the
Shri Ram.
silence of our friends.
Jai
So let's
Shri
just
Ram.
stand up there, actually.
Jai Shri Ram.
All right, guys. Take care, actually. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you all so much. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. You have a blessed day. Bye-bye.